Hey everybody, welcome to Unqualified. My name is Alex and I'm unqualified to give you any advice, but I hope you listen anyway. This show's a little bit about everything, anything, and nothing all in between. So let's rub the Italian horn and the chili pepper for some good luck, because we might need it. And let's get into it. Um, I just wanted to also say that if you guys enjoy the show, or if you want me to comment on any particular topic, please email me at alx.unqualified@gmail.com and I will gladly make a video on whatever you would like me to make a video on. So that's once again alx.unqualified@gmail.com. Anyway, so I wanted to talk to you guys about disability rights, disability, you know, the infringement on people with disabilities and their rights, and how people with disabilities are not taken seriously when it comes to their rights. And often we have our rights violated, whether it be HIPAA or whether it be just our standard rights as a disabled person. And we're going to take a look at a quick little snippet of a video from Philip DeFranco, and we're going to take a look at what he covered. So let's throw it to the video. All right, everybody. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to take a look at what Philip DeFranco has to say about, let's see, accommodations with airlines.
During childbirth. And then, why do a few assholes always have to ruin a good thing for the people who actually need it? And specifically today, I'm talking about disability accommodations in travel. Because there have been so many people abusing the accommodation system at theme parks and airlines, these companies are now cracking down, which is forcing actually disabled people to have to jump through hoops to get the accommodations that they need to travel that's already difficult to get to begin with. I mean, just the
Yeah. So I will admit having the handicap pass at Disneyland is pretty awesome. I was used when I was in school, being like, well, I wasn't necessarily used, but people tried to, get me to, be like, hey, we could use you for a handicap pass, right? And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And, it bothered me, but did I let people know that it bothered me? No, because I didn't wanna be considered a snowflake. I didn't wanna, cause problems. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm awesome. I have the handicap pass. Sure. Okay." But, because every year we would go to Disneyland for, our marching band competition, and then we would go and go march in the Disneyland parade, and so then we would get to run around Disney for, like, a day or 2. So, it was fun, and, I was able to get handicap pass sometimes with fast pass, but I didn't wanna do that and show my friends that, I have this ability or this disability, even though they all knew I was disabled. But I didn't wanna, like, flat out use it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that means I'm ashamed or something. I'm not sure. You can put your own opinions down in the comments section below, but let's just say, to sum it up, I was, you know, I was the butt of everybody's joke. "Oh, she's the handicap pass," you know? So
This summer, Universal theme parks in Florida and California began requiring guests with disabilities to actually register before their visit with the International Board of Credentialing and Continuing Education Standards. And they require
what?
travelers to fill out an application along with documentation of their condition and the contact information for a medical, education, or government professional. With one such traveler, Amy Shinner, saying the process for accommodation for her 25-year-old son with autism was so much, and they were actually lucky to have the necessary documents on hand because they'd recently moved. But otherwise, it could present some serious challenges, and some disability rights lawyers even question whether the information required to get that card violates the Americans with Disabilities Act. With one disability lawyer in Massachusetts saying the Justice Department
The Justice Department specifies that people should not be required to disclose the nature of their disability to receive accommodations unless they're public health or safety concerns. That's HIPAA, you guys.
Specifies that people should not be required to disclose the nature of their disability when requesting accommodation, and calling these requirements, quote, against the spirit of the ADA. But also understand,
That's so true. It is against the spirit of the ADA. It's against HIPAA. That's against everything HIPAA stands for. You don't have to tell people what your disability is. You don't have to. You guys know that? And if you didn't know that, I'm letting you know that right now. You guys don't have to let people know what your disability is. You don't, and if someone's forcing you to tell them what your disability is, that's wrong and that's against HIPAA.
this is not a new issue. People have been abusing disability
Or if someone outs your disability, that's against HIPAA too. Whether it be a doctor, a person, whoever, if they out your disability, it's just like getting outed if you were gay, you know?
accommodations for years. In fact, Disney had to completely overhaul their accommodation system 10 years ago because guests were hiring people with disabilities for the day in order to
See? See? See, people try to get over on the system by using people with disabilities being like, "Oh, no, 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 you're a part of my family. You're a part of my family. Yeah, 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 yeah." And then they use them as the fast pass.
skip lines. And according to Lizzie Reynolds, the owner of a travel agency, there are still message boards and conversation online about how to take advantage of the system, saying
Mhm,
Disney knows this and they've dealt with it for years. But it's
mhm.
also not just amusement parks. Right back in 2020, the transportation department ruled that travelers cannot board with emotional support animals. And that ruling means that airlines can now require those traveling with a service animal to submit forms
Let's see. As a result, airlines can require anyone with service animals to submit 2 forms before flying, one verifying the animal is vaccinated and trained, another verifying it won't relieve itself during longer flights. Okay, um, how do you control an animal like that? That's just my question because I've thought about getting a service dog for, my epilepsy back when it was bad, and then also I just, like, want a emotional support pet because 1, it's a pet, and 2, it would be great for emotional support, to have, like, an emotional support dog or something like that. That would be freaking amazing. But, um my dog who was basically my emotional support dog, whether or not she was registered, she died a couple years ago, and I have been depressed ever since. Um, there's not a day I don't miss that dog. But how can you verify that your animal won't relieve itself during the flight? How can you verify that? Do you slip them a plug? Do you plug up their butt? Do you slip them a well, what is it called? Not a like the opposite of a laxative. Like a plug, like you know what I mean? Put in the comments if you know what I mean.
forms regarding their animal's training and vaccinations, as well as an assurance that the animal won't relieve itself on long flights. Though there, every airline handles their requirements differently. But Open Doors, a nonprofit disability advocacy group, works with several, including JetBlue and Alaska Airlines. And in order to travel, disabled passengers must have their service animal cleared by Open Doors and provide the nonprofit with the flight information so Open Doors can, in turn, communicate with the airline regarding the animal's paperwork, which sounds straightforward, but that process unfortunately does not always work out. Like one legally
Mm-mm.
blind college student found out from Minnesota who was denied boarding on her JetBlue flight because of a problem with her Open Doors paperwork for her service dog. With
You're
reportedly
so
her dog pre-approved, but the flight information was misentered and no one with JetBlue or Open Doors could solve the problem. And like many people who have to go through these hoops, she was extra prepared. She even presented the necessary paperwork for her service dog to JetBlue directly, but they refused to accept it, and so she was forced
That's sad. That is sad. When you have the paperwork and you even have the paperwork physically in front of you, like, "Here, here's the paperwork," and they still won't verify it, that's actually really sad. And, that sounds borderline discriminatory.
to take another flight with a different airline the next day. And when she was eventually refunded for her missed flight, People shouldn't have to fucking go through that. And
No.
unfortunately, she believes that there will always be holes in the system. And over the 15, 16 years of this show, we've repeatedly said, don't be stupid, stupid. I gotta add on to it, and that's don't be an asshole, you fucking asshole. And then there's
Yeah. So that's that. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. Oh my god. So basically, I had an experience of discrimination on a flight from Newark to Arizona back in October of last year. So we were coming back from a very joyous event, and we were in the airport, and they call all the, like, in the little terminal, and they call on the loudspeaker, "Excuse me, can we please have all the handicapped passengers up to the front desk, please? Thank you." And and then so like 6 or 7 people get up, including my mother and I. And we get up, we go to the front desk along with all the other people who are disabled, and they say, "Okay, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but the wheelchairs aren't coming for any of you." And we're all like, "What?" And my mother and I, we walk with canes. And I was having a pretty bad time walking at that time. And my mother, she has a very hard time walking. She has two prosthetic hips and a prosthetic knee. And and they said, "Yeah, they're not coming for you. Um all of you are going to have to walk up the runway, like the what is it called? The terminal runway thing, the hallway. The terminal hallway. I'm just going to call it that. Whatever it's called, gangplank, whatever. Anyway, if you know what I mean, please tell me you know what I mean. Seriously, please confirm that you know you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I felt so incredibly bad because there was this other woman with a cane. She was like in her like 70s at least. And she was like, and I'm like, "Oh my god." And she was like grabbing onto the side, and the gangplank was it was up. So we had to walk up and around onto the plane. It wasn't like a downhill one, and it wasn't straight. No, 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 no. It was it was uphill and to the right. And so, you know, about 6 or 7 of us are all like walking up this hallway, and we're exhausted. And so I stopped to take a TikTok, and I can't find the video right now. But I stopped to take a TikTok, and I'm like, "United Airlines, you making their handicapped passengers walk up the hallway to go to the plane because their wheelchairs wouldn't come." And you know, it was so sad. And then once we get onto the plane, this is what ticks me off even more. Okay? Oh my god. This is where Italian DNA starts coming out. And so we get on the plane, and these two flight attendants, they're young. They're probably like my age or old. They're a little bit older. And I'm 26. And they know the first people who get on the plane are handicapped passengers. Flight attendants know that. They see us walking on with canes. I say to the flight attendant, because me and my mother are sitting in the back of the plane, and we ask them, "Can you please help us put our luggage up on top of up in the drawer space and in the cabin space?" And she said, "Oh, well, that's not my job." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? That's not your job?" And I was like, I was turning into a little mini Karen, And I'm like, "That's not your job." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, then what is your job?" Like, what's your job? Because and I understand that is a liability. Okay, I understand this. That it is a liability for a flight attendant to help put a passenger's luggage up on the cabin space because sometimes if a flight attendant injures themselves, the flight um their insurance, or their company, they won't cover it. Did you guys know that? I bet you didn't. But they said, "Yeah, that's not our job. It's a courtesy." And so I said, "Well, can you be courteous and can you put it up?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, and I'm like, "Oh, lady." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "I'll put it up." And I said, "I just want to let you know that I am disabled." And I said, "I'm going to put it up. But when it falls, because it's too heavy for me, and when it falls and it hits me on the head and breaks my neck, we'll know who to blame." Anyway, and so then my mom's like, "Sit down." And I'm like, she's like, "Sit down. You're going to get us thrown off the plane." And the lady's like, she goes to she lazily reaches to go and get my luggage. I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I'll put it up. I'll put it up. And if it falls on my head, we know who to blame, right?" And like, let the record show. I don't know. It's that kind of stuff just irks me. You know, like I said, I understand where it comes from, that they don't want to help passengers because it could be a liability. But the way that those two flight attendants were just their attitude and the way that they were treating me and my mother, it seemed like they didn't care. And then the rest of the flight, they ignored us. My mother tried to ask for something twice and they ignored us. I'm amazed they gave us our soda. I really am. What maybe was it because I was a little bit of a biatch then? Maybe. Maybe a little bit. But, it's ridiculous. And I've had it so many times where in the airport the wheelchair service doesn't come. And it's like nobody wants to freaking do their job. And I understand you're in an airport, you got thousands of people, yada, 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 yada. But the flight attendants themselves say, "Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Nobody ever wants to come and do their job." That's what the flight attendants say. I felt so bad for this one flight attendant. She felt bad for me and my father because we were the last ones on the plane waiting 20 minutes and the wheelchair never came. So the flight attendant had to um walk me up the gangplank hallway, whatever you call it. She had to walk me up that herself, and she called a wheelchair herself from the main desk. And it was ridiculous. I have no patience for airports when it comes to being disabled and going through an airport. I have no patience whatsoever. It goes out the door in one ear, out the other. That's where my patience goes. But and then I saw videos recently. I can't remember where I saw it, what video, because if I knew what video it was, I would put it up here on the screen. But it's of passengers, flight attendants, not flight attendants, but flight passengers who are wheelchair bound, and either the plane doesn't have the aisle wheelchair or they don't let them use it, and the people have to drag themselves down the aisle on their butts or on their legs and their arms. Isn't that degrading? Isn't that isn't that so degrading? Isn't that inhumane? I don't know. I don't know, you guys. Just whoo. Ooh, I gotta end this video before I get too heated. So, like, comment, and subscribe on this video, and share this video with your friends. Get the word out there. Hit that notification bell so you get notified of my content. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.